Picture the coastline of 9th century Northumbria. It's not a postcard of gentle rolling hills. It's a raw, unforgiving landscape of grey cliffs and churning, slate-coloured sea. Imagine the air, so thick with salt you can taste it on your tongue. A constant reminder of the ocean's power, a force that gives life with one hand and takes it with the other. This is your world. You live in a small settlement, a cluster of wattle and daub homes huddled together for warmth and safety, encircled by a crude wooden palisade that feels more symbolic than secure. Life here is not easy, but it is known. It follows the rhythms of the sun and the seasons, the planting and the harvest, the mending of nets and the tending of livestock. It is a life measured in small, profound moments. The warmth of the fire in the hearth on a cold night, the familiar weight of your husband's arm around you, the sound of your child's laughter echoing off the damp walls of your home. You are not a queen or a noblewoman in some distant fortified city. You are the wife of a local thane, a man of some standing, respected by his people. Your hands are not soft. They are chapped from work, but they know how to soothe a fever, how to knead dough, how to weave wool into a thick cloak that can turn away the biting wind. Your identity is woven into the very fabric of this place. You are a wife, a mother, a neighbour, a vital thread in the small tight weave of your community. Every face you see is a story you know. Every path is one your feet have walked 1,000 times. This is the bedrock of your existence, the unquestioned reality of your world. But for weeks, a new feeling has seeped into the community, as insidious as the coastal fog. It began with whispers from travelling merchants, then stories from fishermen who ventured too far, out here, and saw things they couldn't explain. Tales of dragon-headed ships, slicing through the waves like sharks, their brightly coloured shields glinting in the sun like a row of monstrous eyes. They speak of men who fight not with the grim duty of soldiers defending their land, but with a terrifying, ecstatic joy in destruction. Men who worship dark, violent gods and who appear from the sea as if summoned by a storm. Most people dismiss these as campfire stories, the exaggerations of weary travellers. But you see the way your husband and the other men of the village have been quietly sharpening their axes, the way their eyes drift towards the horizon more often. You see them reinforcing the palisade. Their movements too quick, too urgent for routine maintenance. Fear has a scent, and it begins to cling to the air, mingling with the salt and the wood smoke. You try to push it down, to focus on the tangible realities of your life. You teach your daughter a weaving pattern passed down from your own mother. You salt fish for the coming winter. You pray in the small stone church, the scent of cold incense, a familiar comfort. Even as the priest's sermons become laced with warnings of a coming tribulation, a test of faith sent by God. Then one morning the world ends. It doesn't begin with a crash of thunder or a declaration of war. It begins with a sound. A single mournful blast from a horn. A sound that is alien and deeply wrong. It cuts through the morning mist, and for a heart-stopping second, everything goes silent. The birds stop singing. The waves seem to hold their breath. Then a second blast, closer this time, and the spell is broken. A cry goes up from the watchtower. Not a word, just a raw animal sound of pure terror. Through the thinning fog you see them, the dragon ships. They are not stories, they are real. And they are here. They are larger and more menacing than any tale could convey, their carved prows snarling at the sky. Men are pouring from them, wading through the surf, huge men with wild hair and beards, wielding axes that seem impossibly large. The village bell begins to toll frantically, a frantic, desperate heartbeat counting down the last moments of your world. The chaos is absolute. The structured, predictable life you knew shatters into a million shards of terror. Your husband shoves you and your daughter towards the church, the designated place of refuge. He presses his axe into your hands. "Bar the door," he says, his voice a low growl you barely recognize. "Do not open it. For anyone." He kisses you, a hard, desperate press of his lips, and then he turns and runs to join the other men, forming a pathetic, hopeless shield wall at the gate. You watch him go, a strong, familiar shape swallowed by the growing madness. Inside the church, it is a bedlam of weeping women and terrified children. The air is thick with the metallic tang of fear. You can hear the sounds from outside, and they are the sounds of hell. The splintering crash as the gate gives way. The guttural war cries of the Norsemen, a language that sounds like rocks grinding together. And the screams of your friends, your neighbours, the men you have known your entire life, cut short one by one. The fighting is brief, a testament to its one-sided brutality. The shield wall breaks, and the screams multiply, now joined by the sounds of doors being kicked in, of plunder and destruction. You huddle in the darkness of the church, clutching your child, your knuckles white on the handle of the axe you don't know how to use. The heavy oak door shudders. Once, twice. Then, a monstrous crash as an axe blade splinters the wood. More blows rain down, and the door groans, its iron hinges screaming in protest before they are torn from the stone. The door swings open, framing a silhouette against the burning daylight. A giant of a man stands there, his chest bare and slick with blood, some of it his, most of it not. His eyes, pale blue like chips of ice, scan the terrified crowd within. They are not the eyes of a madman, they are the eyes of a predator, calm, assessing, calculating. And then they land on you. He ignores the others, walking towards you with a deliberate, unhurried pace. He sees the axe in your hands and a slow smile spreads across his blood-flecked beard. He doesn't see a threat. He sees an amusement. He reaches out, not with his weapon, but with his hand, and effortlessly plucks the axe from your grasp, tossing it aside where it clatters on the stone floor. He takes you by the arm, his grip like iron, and pulls you to your feet. As he drags you out of the church and into the daylight, you see it. The ruin of your world. Your home is burning. The bodies of the village men lie twisted on the ground, a testament to their futile bravery. Your husband is among them, and as this Viking chieftain pulls you through the carnage, his eyes hold no malice, no anger, no passion at all. It is a look of simple, absolute ownership. In that moment, you understand that death was a mercy granted only to the men. Your fate, and the fate of every other woman here, is something else entirely. It is just beginning. The air you breathe is no longer your own. It is thick with the greasy smoke of your burning home and the coppery stench of blood that has already begun to cool on the damp earth. The chieftain drags you towards the centre of what was once the village green, a place where children played and festivals were held. Now it is a collection point for the spoils of war. Piles of hastily gathered loot are growing, sacks of grain, bundled wool, the simple silver cross ripped from the church altar. But you are not piled with the inanimate objects. You are herded with the other women. Ropes are thrown around you, not with intricate knots, but with the rough, efficient loops of men used to handling livestock. You are bound wrist to wrist with your neighbours, the woman who helped deliver your child, the young girl who was to be married next spring. You form a living chain of shared terror, a silent testament to the village's utter annihilation. You search desperately for your daughter and find her a few places down the line, her small face streaked with soot and tears, her eyes wide with a horror no child should ever witness. A small cold comfort settles in your heart. At least she is alive. At least you are together. But this comfort is a fragile shard of glass in a storm of misery, because you have no idea what being alive now means. The Vikings move about the ruins of your life with a shocking, almost offensive casualness. The berserker rage that propelled them through your men is gone, replaced by a boisterous, comradely efficiency. They laugh deep guttural sounds as they slap each other on the back. They pass around skins of ale taken from your village stores, drinking deeply as they stand over the bodies of the men who brewed it. They are not monsters from some dark abyss. They are men at work, and their workday is done. This, you realise, is far more terrifying. A monster can be hated, can be understood in its otherness. But these are just men, and their ability to commit such atrocities, and then share a drink as if they'd just finished a day's logging, is a truth so profound, it threatens to unhinge your mind. They are inventorying their plunder, their world, and you are now a part of that inventory. The chieftain who claimed you stands with two of his lieutenants looking over the line of captured women. They speak in their harsh alien tongue, a language of stone and ice, and though you cannot understand the words, their meaning is brutally clear. They are assessing value. One of them walks down the line, his gaze clinical and dismissive. He stops in front of an older woman, the village elder, her face a roadmap of wrinkles and wisdom. He grabs her chin, forcing her mouth open to inspect her teeth. He feels her arms thin and sinewy, and then shoves her roughly away. He says a single sharp word to the others, and she is cut from the rope line, pushed to the side, and ignored, discarded. Her fate hangs in the air, a question no one dares to ask, but everyone understands. They continue down the line. They are looking for youth, for strength, for beauty, for the things that make a woman useful in their world. When the man reaches a young, fiercely defiant woman who spits in his face, he does not fly into a rage. He simply backhands her, a single precise blow that cracks across the unnatural silence. She falls to her knees, blood trickling from her lip, but her eyes still burn with hate. The Viking looks at her for a long moment, then grunts, a sound of what might be grudging respect before moving on. The message is clear to all of you. Your defiance is a fleeting, pointless gesture. It will not save you. It will only be met with an indifferent, overwhelming force. Your spirit is just another thing for them to break. When the chieftain approaches you again, your heart hammers against your ribs. A frantic bird trapped in a cage. He does not look at your face. He looks at your hands, turning them over. He sees the calluses, the signs of a life of hard, productive work. He looks at your hair, your teeth, your body. His eyes are praising you not as a person, but as a collection of assets. He is calculating your worth as a labourer, as a breeder, as a possession. He gestures to one of his men who comes forward with a small pot of blue dye. The man dips his thumb in it and presses a crude mark onto your forehead, a mark of ownership. You have been graded, you have been claimed. You belong to him now, as surely as his axe and his ship. The sorting continues until every woman and child has been assessed. Some are marked like you, others are left unmarked, their futures even more terrifyingly uncertain. The sun begins to dip towards the horizon, casting long, bloody shadows across the devastation. Then, a new command is barked, and the marked women are pulled from the line. You are untied from your neighbours, and a new rope is looped around your neck. You are being led, a dog on a leash, towards the sea. You stumble over the bodies of men you knew, your feet catching on the stiff, outstretched arm of your husband's brother. You do not allow yourself to look at your husband's body again. To look would be to break, and you sense with a primal instinct for survival that if you break now, you will never be whole again. You are being marched onto the beach, the wet sand sucking at your leather shoes. The dragon ships, which seemed like terrible phantoms from a distance, are now impossibly real. They are magnificent and horrifying. The craftsmanship of the carved wood, undeniable. The purpose of the vessel, utterly malevolent. They smell of tar and salt, and something else. A musky, animal smell of unwashed men. You are shoved towards a plank and forced to walk up it, the rope around your neck pulling you forward. You get a fleeting glimpse back at the shore, at the pillar of smoke that was once your life, at the small, discarded group of the old and the weak, left to a fate you dare not imagine. This is the last time you will ever see your home, the last time you will stand on the soil of your ancestors. You are pushed into the belly of the ship, a cramped, dark space already crowded with warriors and plunder. You find your daughter and pull her into a fierce embrace, burying your face in her hair. She is all you have left. The ship lurches as it is pushed off the sand and into the waves. The rhythmic creak of wood and the shouts of the oarsmen begin, a steady, inexorable beat that is pulling you away from everything you have ever known and dragging you into a future darker than the deepest sea. The world is no longer stable. It is a thing of constant, sickening motion. The floor beneath you rises and falls with the breath of the great ocean, a rhythm your body cannot learn. You are wedged between a wooden chest filled with stolen church silver and the rough-hewn hull of the ship, the rhythmic slap of the waves against the timber, a constant close companion. Your daughter is a warm, trembling weight in your lap, her small body the only solid thing in a universe that has turned to water and fear. For the first few days, you exist in a state of suspended shock. The mind in its mercy refuses to process the totality of what has happened. It allows you only the immediate sensations, the gnawing emptiness in your stomach, the chafing of the rope that binds you to a support beam at night, the biting cold that seeps in from the sea, a damp chill that no amount of huddling can ward off. You learn the routines of the ship not through instruction, but through animal observation. Twice a day, a boy no older than your daughter's playmate comes around with a wooden bucket. It contains a grey, lumpy gruel, smelling of stale fish and oats. He doesn't offer bowls or spoons. He ladles a scoop into the cupped, filthy hands of each captive. The first time you nearly retch, but you see your daughter's hungry eyes and you force the foul stuff down. Then guide her hands to receive her share. This is the first lesson of your new life. Your own disgust is a luxury you can no longer afford. Survival is all that matters. The Vikings are a constant, terrifying presence. They occupy the ship with a proprietary ease, their large bodies filling the cramped space. They are loud, their language a percussive assault on your ears. They drink, they gamble with dice carved from bone. They argue in sharp, angry bursts and then moments later laugh with a booming camaraderie that is somehow more unsettling than their violence. You learn their faces, their individual gaits, the way one of them is always sharpening his axe with a whetstone, the rhythmic scrape, 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 becoming part of the ship's torturous symphony. You learn to make yourself small, to press yourself into the shadows, to become part of the background. You teach your daughter to do the same. A silent communication of desperate glances and small restraining pressures of your hand. You teach her to be quiet, to be still, to be invisible. You are erasing her childhood before it has even had a chance to bloom. The chieftain, your new master, rarely acknowledges you. He is the centre of this small, violent world, the undisputed sun around which these other men orbit. He is not a king on a throne. His authority is more elemental. It is in the way they fall silent when he speaks, the way they obey his clipped commands without question. He will sometimes stand at the prow for hours, staring out at the endless grey expanse, his braids whipping in the wind. In these moments he seems less a man and more a force of nature, as untamable and as merciless as the sea itself. When his gaze does happen to fall upon you, it holds no recognition. His eyes pass over you as if you are a part of the ship's rigging, a coil of rope, a sack of grain. You are not a person to him. You are a tool he has acquired, and he has not yet found a use for it. This utter indifference is a new kind of violation, a psychological erasure more profound than any physical blow. 1 week into the journey, the sky turns the colour of a bruise. The sea, which had been a steady, rolling presence, becomes a churning, malevolent beast. The waves rise up like moving mountains, their peaks frothing with white rage. Rain comes not as a cleansing shower, but as a horizontal, stinging assault. The ship, which had felt so large and menacing, is now a fragile toy in the grip of a titan. For you and the other captives, it is a new dimension of hell. You are thrown about, soaked to the bone. The screams of the terrified women swallowed by the roar of the wind and the crashing of water. But the Vikings, they come alive. This is their element. They move about the slick, bucking deck with a sure-footed confidence that is inhuman. They reef the great square sail, their shouts to one another barely audible, but perfectly understood. They laugh into the teeth of the gale, their faces lit by flashes of lightning. They are creatures of the storm, and in this moment you understand them more deeply. They are not just men who use the sea, they are a part of it. They are the human embodiment of the storm's chaotic, destructive power. The chieftain stands at the steering oar, his body braced against the heaving tiller, a fixed point in the whirlwind. He does not shout. He is a figure of absolute control in the heart of absolute chaos. His eyes narrowed, his jaw set. A man wrestling with a god and winning. During the worst of it, your daughter begins to sob, her small cries lost in the din. You hold her tighter, whispering the words of a prayer you no longer believe in, your lips moving against her wet hair. You are certain you are going to die, that the sea will be your shared grave, a cold, dark end to a story of pain. But you do not die. The storm breaks as suddenly as it began. The sun emerges, weak and watery at first, then with a growing strength that seems almost mocking in its cheerfulness. The sea settles back into its rhythm, and the Vikings set about repairing the minor damage, their mood even more boisterous than before, buoyed by their victory over the waves. The near-death experience has changed nothing. Your status is the same. The journey continues. Then one morning, you are awakened not by the changing of the oar shifts, but by a new sound, a different kind of shout from the lookout. A word is passed through the ship, a word that creates a stir of anticipation among your captors. They begin gathering their weapons, checking their gear. You crawl to a crack in the hull and peer out. Through the morning mist you see it, a line of dark, jagged rock rising from the sea. Then beyond it, a coastline of stark, treeless mountains and deep-shadowed fjords. This is not the green and gentle land you knew. This looks like the bones of the earth, picked clean and left to bleach in a cold sun. There is a settlement nestled in a cove, a collection of long, low houses with turf roofs, smoke curling from their central vents. This is their home. This is the source of the storm that wrecked your life. You are led up from the cramped darkness of the hold and onto the deck. The light is blinding. The air is different here, colder, sharper. As the ship glides into the fjord, you see people gathering on the shore. Women, children, old men. They are not cheering. They are watching with a grim, silent appraisal. They are not welcoming heroes. They are inspecting the profits of a business venture. You are led down the plank and onto the shore. The ground is firm beneath your feet, but it is not your ground. The air you breathe is not your air. The journey is over, but you understand, with a clarity that freezes the very marrow in your bones, that you have not arrived at a destination. You have simply been delivered to the heart of the abyss. You are not led to a building. You are led into one. The Longhouse. From the outside, it was just a feature of the landscape, a long mound of earth and turf. Inside him is a different world, a kingdom of perpetual twilight. The door is a low, heavy slab of wood that closes behind you with a dead final thud, plunging you into a smoky gloom. The air is a physical presence, a thick, suffocating blanket woven from wood smoke, unwashed bodies, stale ale, and the smell of rendered fat. Your eyes, accustomed to the open sky, struggle to adjust. A long sunken fire pit runs down the centre of the hall, a dragon's spine of glowing embers and flickering flames that sends a constant river of smoke towards a hole in the roof. The light it casts is a living thing, dancing and writhing, making the shadows in the corners leap and twist. This is not the warm, contained light of a hearth in a home. It is the wild, untamed light of a campfire brought indoors, and it illuminates a scene of brutal domesticity. The walls are lined with raised wooden platforms, covered in furs and skins, that serve as benches for sitting and beds for sleeping. Shields hang on the wall posts, their painted faces like the vacant eyes of dead gods, silent witnesses to the life that unfolds beneath them. And that life is all around you. Men lounge on the platforms, sharpening knives, mending leather. Children with matted blonde hair and shockingly blue eyes dart through the shadows, playing games that look like miniature forms of combat. And the women, the Norse women, they are nothing like the women you knew. They are tall and broad-shouldered, their hair in practical, severe braids. They move with a hard, unyielding confidence, their eyes missing nothing. Then, one of them approaches. She is older, her face a mask of stern authority, her dress adorned with keys and knives that hang from a chain at her waist, symbols of her status. This is the chieftain's wife, the mistress of this hall. She is the one who rules this indoor world. Her gaze sweeps over you and the other captured women, and it is a look of pure, unadulterated contempt. There is no flicker of sympathy, no shared understanding of womanhood. She sees you as an infestation, a contamination, a problem to be managed. She walks up to you, her eyes colder than the fjord water. She grabs a handful of your woolen tunic, the one you wove yourself, the fine English fabric, a last fragile link to your old life. She feels the material between her thumb and forefinger, and a sneer twists her lips. She releases it as if it is something foul. She barks a command in her harsh tongue to one of the other women, who returns with a pile of coarse, undyed cloth. You are stripped of your clothes, right there in the middle of the hall, your nakedness a testament to your absolute vulnerability. You are handed a simple, shapeless tunic of scratchy wool, the uniform of a thrall. Your old life is literally being peeled from your skin and discarded on the dirt floor. Your work begins immediately. There is no period of adjustment, no time to grieve. You are taken to the back of the longhouse, to a corner reserved for the endless, back-breaking labour that sustains this place. You are put before a quern stone, a massive, flat, circular stone with a smaller, heavier one on top of it. A wooden handle juts from the top stone. Your task is to grind the hard, dried grain into flour. The chieftain's wife shows you the motion once, a powerful circular push and pull, and then she watches, her arms crossed as you begin. The stone is impossibly heavy. Every muscle in your back and arms screams in protest. The repetitive motion is a form of torture, a mindless circular journey that leads nowhere. You grind and grind, the sound a gritty, scraping complaint that fills your ears. This sound becomes the new rhythm of your life. It is the sound of your spirit being ground down, grain by grain, into a submissive, useful powder. Your days become a blur of this relentless toil. Before the sun rises, you are awake, tending the fire, hauling water from a bone-chillingly cold stream. You cook the meals, vast cauldrons of porridge and stew that you are not permitted to eat from until everyone else has had their fill, and only if there are scraps left over. You clean the hall, scrubbing grease from the trestle tables, mucking out the filth that accumulates. You learn to weave on their upright looms, your skilled fingers now forced to create the cloth that will warm your enemies. You are never idle. To be idle is to be noticed, and to be noticed is to invite a cuff, a kick, or a new, more arduous task. You learn the language of this place, not through lessons, but through the sharp imperative of commands. You learn the words for water, fire, more, faster. You learn that your name is no longer spoken. You are simply thrall. You cease to be a person and become a function, a pair of hands, a strong back. The other women of the hall are not your friends. They are your overseers. They enforce the mistress's will with a casual cruelty that suggests they too were once in your position. They save the hardest, filthiest jobs for you. They mock your accent when you try to speak their tongue. They remind you, with every glance and every sneer, that you are less than human. You are property. You learn to live in a state of constant low-grade fear. The men of the hall, drunk on ale, will sometimes grab at you as you pass. You learn how to slip from their grasp without being so defiant as to provoke their anger. You learn to keep your eyes downcast, to make your face a blank mask, to betray no thought, no feeling, no hint of the person who still screams inside you. Your daughter is your only anchor to that person. You work to keep her close, finding small tasks for her that keep her within your sight. You teach her the lessons of survival you are learning, to be silent, to be obedient, to be invisible. You are teaching your own child how to be a perfect slave, and this knowledge is a shard of ice in your heart. You see the light in her eyes dimming, the laughter silenced, her childhood being stolen one brutal day at a time. This is the true meaning of your new existence. It is not just your own destruction. It is being forced to participate in the destruction of the one person you love more than life itself. The seasons turn, but the twilight inside the longhouse remains the same. The passage of time is marked not by the changing light, but by the wearing down of your body and your soul. Winter comes, a brutal, endless night that traps you all in the smoky warmth of the hall for weeks on end. The air grows fouler, the tempers shorter. Summer is a brief, frantic explosion of work under a sun that never seems to set. A different kind of exhaustion. You learn the rhythms of this new world so completely that the memories of your old life begin to feel like a dream you once had. A story about a different woman in a different world. The face of your husband, once a source of searing pain, now floats in your mind as a distant, hazy image, like a face carved into a weathered stone. This fading of memory is a new kind of grief, a second death. You are not just losing your past, you are losing the part of you that was capable of holding it. The sharp edges of your pain have been worn smooth by the relentless, grinding routine of your existence. What is left is not peace, but a vast, cold numbness, a state of being that is necessary for survival. You no longer weep at night. Tears are a waste of salt and energy, two things you cannot spare. One evening, the great horn sounds from the fjord. It is a triumphant, bellowing sound that shakes the longhouse from its routine. The chieftain is returning. For weeks he has been away, raiding, trading. It makes no difference. Now he is back, his ship laden with new plunder, his men flush with victory. The hall erupts in a frenzy of activity. The mistress shouts orders, and you and the other thralls scramble to obey. Great feasts are prepared. The best ale is brought out. The fires are built high. As he strides into the longhouse, a giant silhouetted against the evening light, He is met with roars of approval. He is a god returned to his temple. He does not look at you, he never does, but you feel his presence like a change in the air pressure, a heavy static charge that makes the hairs on your arms stand up. The feast is a wild, savage affair. The men drink themselves into a stupor, their boasts and laughter echoing off the high-beamed roof. They tear into roasted meat with their hands and knives, grease running down their beards. You move along the edges of the chaos, a silent ghost, refilling wooden flagons, clearing away gnawed bones, invisible. Later, when the fires have burned down to a deep, pulsing glow, and most of the men have collapsed into a drunken sleep on their benches, it happens. The mistress of the hall approaches you. She does not speak. She simply takes you by the arm, her grip hard and unyielding, and leads you towards the chieftain's private space at the far end of the hall, a semi-partitioned area that is his and his alone. Your heart, which you thought had turned to stone, begins to beat again, a frantic, trapped thing. He is there, sitting on a bed of thick furs, his massive form illuminated by the embers. He is cleaning his axe with an oiled cloth. He looks up as you are pushed into the space, and for the first time his eyes truly focus on you. There is no desire in them. There is no anger. There is nothing but the quiet, simple recognition of a man looking upon a piece of his property that he has decided, finally, to use. You do not scream. You do not fight. The defiance you saw in the young woman on the day of your capture is a fire that has long since been extinguished in you. To fight is to affirm that there is a self left to defend. You have learned too well that there is not. You simply stand there, a vessel waiting to be filled with another's will. As he takes you, what you feel is not pain, not even terror. It is a profound and final detachment. You leave your body. You float up into the smoky rafters, and you look down upon the scene as if it were happening to a stranger. You see a large, powerful man and a thin, compliant woman. You feel a distant clinical pity for her. You have become a ghost in your own life, a silent observer of your own violation. This is the final stage of your erasure. When it is over, he rolls away from you and falls into a deep, guttural sleep. You lie there in the darkness, the scratchy furs against your skin, his scent filling your nostrils, and you feel nothing at all. Before the first hint of dawn, you rise. You pull your thrall's tunic back on. You walk back to your own sleeping space, a small patch of straw near the cooking fires. You look at your daughter, asleep, her face smooth and untroubled for a few more precious hours. And in that moment, the numbness cracks, and something far worse takes its place. A terrible, cold clarity. You now understand that your survival was never the point. It was just the prelude. Your purpose now is to endure, not for yourself, but to teach her how to endure this exact same fate. Your love for her, the last pure thing left inside you, has been twisted into a new, horrific function. You must now prepare her for a life of this. You must teach her how to be empty, how to be a ghost in her own skin, how to survive when every breath is a betrayal of the person she was meant to be. Death would have been an ending. This is a curse passed from mother to daughter, a legacy of unending violation, and you, in your desperate animal need to live, have become its willing instrument.